Hello, hello, good morning. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Friday 9:30 a.m. technique at the Harvest of Smiles online crop, and we are going to be creating a skinny prop easel card. That's kind of a weird name, but it gives an accurate description of what we're going to be making. And let me just pull out my handy dandy catalog here. We are looking at the featured collection for the month, which is the one that's here on the front cover. And you're going to see me showing this again and again, but it's called The Good Life. And it's a gorgeous country-inspired collection. And we're going to be using some of the coordinating cardstock as well as pattern paper. We're also going to be using a couple of stamp sets from the catalog. Let me just flip to them. We're going to be using this one called Locally Grown, which has this gorgeous pig and chicken and horse and cow and some sentiments. And we're also going to be using, let me see, I should have had it marked. Lots of Christmassy goodness in here. But we're going to be using one, it's called Harvest Blessings. There it is. It was the page before. Harvest Blessings. So we're going to be using sentiment and image from that one as well. So I love how easy it is to coordinate different things in the catalog, pulling on all different areas, right? We got papers and cardstocks and inks and stamps and all sorts of fun things. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can say replay. I see Heather is already online this morning. And Mary, good morning, good morning. Oh, my mom's here too. Hey, Mom. And so if you're joining me, just say hello. We're going to start our card today with a card base of Harbour Cardstock, which is gorgeous. And this has been cut to, let me just double check, 4 1/4 by 11 inches. And we're going to be creating this easel card on the vertical. And like the name says, it's a skinny prop easel card. So you'll see that come into play. That's kind of a name I made up. So I don't know what this is actually called. That's just how it looks to me. And so I'm going to start just by folding this in half along the long way, or across the long way. And so that creates our 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 base that opens up at the top. Now, with most easel cards, you would then take your front cover and fold it in half this way so that you create a prop, and then you can create, another panel that's the card front size that stands up from it. This is going to be a little different. So we're actually going to fold the front of the card. Let me put it back this way so it looks normal. But we're going to fold it back on itself. Okay, so we're going to create a fold going the opposite direction of what you would expect. I'm just going to turn it so I can line up my edges. Make sure everything lines up nice and crisp. And then we'll crease it down. So now we have a card that kind of opens up accordion style. Kind of opens up like this, and that's going to come into play with our skinny prop. Good morning, Deborah. Nice to see you're watching. How's everybody doing? Are you bright and perky on this Friday morning? I didn't have to do the school run today because my daughter decided that her sore throat was too bothersome, and so she wanted to stay home. So first week of school, and we're already staying home, not feeling well. Now, on the inside here, on this large back panel, we're going to do some decorating. And I've got a piece of mist cardstock, which is one of the coordinating cardstocks for the Good Life collection. And this has been cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So it's just 1/8 less than the size of the card base. So it's just going to leave a skinny border of the harbor all the way around. And then I've also got a layer of this gorgeous mist wood grain from the Good Life collection. and it has been cut to 4 inches by 5 1/4. So again, just a little bit less, so that we're going to get the 2 layers of cardstock showing. So I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive to my cardstock. And now this is the tricky bit, because we have to try and get it centered with only that teeny tiny little 1/16 of an inch border, and try to make it even all the way around. And sometimes that can be difficult, especially on a live video. But I think I managed it. Hooray! And then we're going to go ahead and add some adhesive to the back of this pattern paper and attach it down. And again, we're going to have to do our lining up carefully to make sure that we get it all centered. When I was making the prototype for this, I had to do it a couple of times and to make sure it was centered. So I had to do a little bit of peeling. All right, so let's line this up like that. Just kind of checking the sides here. Make sure we're getting it, and there we go. Awesome. So that's creating quite a nice sturdy base for our card. And the good thing when you're making an easel card is if you do have a couple layers in your base, it keeps your card from toppling over, right? Because you're going to have some height on your card, and you don't want everything just to sort of over backwards. So now we're going to add some embellishment or decoration to this part of the card. And so we're going to add in 2 panels, might as well bring them both out, 2 panels of mist cardstock. And these have both been cut to 4 1/8 by 2 5/8. And I know that's annoying for people who don't like cutting 8s, but it is what it is. We want just that skinny border showing. So I'm going to go ahead and add adhesive to the backs of these. And I'm actually using the mist on the light side of mist. So it's not the true color, it's the lighter side. And that's totally, just a preference one way or the other. I just wanted a little more contrast between the mist and the harbor. I mean, there's a lot of contrast anyway, but even a little bit more by using that lighter side. Okay, so let's line this up. Get it centered in the space. And then our last one. The good thing about this is you're using the same cardstock for all 3 panels. So if you cut a strip that's the width, you can just keep cutting off the sizes of pieces that you need from the same strip. And that saves on paper. Super good. All right, so now we have all of those panels together. Now I want to create a bit of a design on this top piece. And I looked at all the different pattern papers in the collection, and I thought, it's not quite what I'm looking for, because I really like this misty color combination that's going on here with the harbor. So I thought, I'm going to create my own pattern paper. So let me bring in a piece of scrap paper, and I've got a piece of White Daisy cardstock. Is it White Daisy? I believe it is. Yes, it is. It's White Daisy. The coordinating cardstock in the collection is French Vanilla. So I just wanted to make sure. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but this is White Daisy. And it's been cut to 4 inches by 2 1/2. And what I wanted to bring in for this is from that locally grown stamp set is the cute little chicken. And if you guys know me, you know I kind of have a thing for chickens. And I was so excited when the Backyard Bliss came out and there were a couple chickens in there, but then there was no chicken stamp. And I was like, oh no, no chicken stamp. So I can tell you I was really excited when Locally Grown was in the catalog and there was a chicken stamp. So I'm super thrilled. I know it's the simple things that amuse me and get me excited, but it is what it is. I have a collection of chickens, like ceramic chicken dishes where it's like the nest is the bottom and the bird is the top, and you open them up. that I inherited from my grandmother. So I come by my love of chickens, quite honestly. So I have my mist ink here, and I'm going to ink up my chicken in mist, which is not typically a chicken color, but we're creating pattern paper, right? So I want to ink it up, but I don't want the full strength. Let me just show you. The full strength is pretty strong. I want a little bit less than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink it up. I'm going to stamp off on my scrap paper, and then I'm going to come in on my good paper. I'm stamping off the edge in second generation. You see how much lighter that is? Well, now I've stamped that twice. And miraculously, I actually stamped it in the same spot. Wow, that never happens. But it's a lot lighter when you do second generation. So I'm going to stamp off and then turn my stamp a little bit. Stamp some little chicken feet on there. And the trick with doing background stamping is that you want to twist and turn your stamp around so that your stamped image is not all in the same position every time. You want to make it look a little different. And you want it to go off the edge and create just a fun kind of organic look to your background paper. Let's stick another little chicken up here, like that. And then I'll put another chicken over this way, like that. And one more. Always got to remember to do the stamp off. Let's turn this guy upside down. Stick him right in the center. There we go. So that's our lovely little chicken paper all stamped up. And look at that. I was disappointed before that there were no chickens, and now I can create chicken things to my heart's content. Good morning, Allison. Good morning, Robin. Nice to see you're watching. Just checking to see who else I missed. Hey, Joanne. Yeah, right? Heather, the joke always is, welcome back to school, here's your bag of germs. And Julia has been wearing a mask to school all last year, and this year we kind of said, okay, I guess you can go without a mask. I mean, she would take her mask off to eat lunch anyway at school. And so, yeah, so she didn't wear her mask, and you know, it's just one of those things. Everybody gets a cold or something right at the beginning of school. It's been the running joke since the kids started kindergarten. Welcome back to school. Here's a bag of germs. And we're just going to go ahead and center our little chicken paper right in the front of that panel. And I love how it now kind of all has the same coloration, but the patterns are different. So we've got a larger scale, and then we've got this more dense wood grain, and super fun. And then, of course, that break in the middle with just the cardstock panel. Sorry, I'm getting choked up about it. Just so excited about the chicken. And then I want to just stamp a chicken on its own as well. So let me just quickly, I didn't have my cleaner out here. I'm going to quickly, this is one of the times where I wash my stamps. And because I'm going to change colors. And so we're going to just wash off that mist ink. There we go. Make sure it's dry before we stick it in our thing. I'm going to use the chicken, but I'm also going to stamp the sheaf of wheat from the Harvest Blessings stamp set. So I'm going to use the intense black ink for this because I'm going to do some coloring with the tri-blend markers. So let's ink up our little chicken. And stamp it on down. And then we're going to ink up our wheat. And stamp it on down. Gonna do that one again. I got a little off the edge, I think, with my inking. And that one little part of the sheath, there we go, that's better. That one kind of got faded. I might not have caught it on the ink pad very well. So that's just my reminder that that's not the one to color. And I also want to do some other stamping with some sentiments. So I'm going to bring in a panel that's going to be my skinny prop. And I've got 2 pieces of cardstock for this. This one is the Mist again, and it is 1 3/4 by 4 inches. And on this one, I just want to stamp the sentiment Harvest Blessings. Now, I was using the Mist, but I think I'm going to do it in the black. I want it to stand out a little bit more, so I'm going to use my black. I've got my Harvest Blessings. Now, originally, this Harvest Blessings on the stamp set is one long line of sentiment, but I used my scissors and cut my stamp in half so that I can layer it up one on top of the other. Doing a little stamp surgery, you can totally do that. Just be cautious. Always cautious when you're cutting your stamps. And the other thing I like to do is I like to try and cut in like almost like a dovetail. So come in on an angle and then come back out on an angle, and that way they can nest together so you know you've got it in the right place. And I'm just going to stamp that in the middle, Harvest Blessings. So when you want to have it as one long word again, those 2, one is a point and one is a dovetail, they kind of fit together so that you know that you're in alignment. So we've stamped that up, and then I also have a little piece of the Mist again, and this has been cut to, I will put all these measurements, by the way, 2 5/8 by 7/8, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment from Harvest Blessings again that says, "My heart is filled with gratitude." I think that's a lovely sentiment, so we're going to ink that up and stamp that in the middle here. Now I should be using the foam or the back of my Versamat to do my stamping, but I'm being risky today. Risky business. So there we go. We've got all our stamping done, I'm pretty sure now. I'm going to set that aside. Let's do our coloring. So for this, I want to color my little chicken first with, let me see, I think I used this. Let me just double check. It was yesterday when I did this. Yes. So this is the tan blend, and I'm going to use the darkest of the tan blend just to color my chicken. We're just going to go over the whole chicken. When I was a kid on a farm, we had Rhode Island red chickens, which are not particularly red, but they are more brownish. And they lay brown eggs. And they were nice little chickens. We also had a rooster, and he was not a nice rooster. He was a bit of a mean rooster, so he eventually became Rooster and Dumplings after an unfortunate incident in which I have scars on my leg from. He was an attack rooster. And so, yeah. So we're going to color that up with the tan blend. And then I'm also going to come in with the earth brown. And I'm going to use the, let me see, do I want the mid or do I want the light? I should have written down. I think I want the light of the earth brown blend. And I'm just going to kind of follow where the shadows are, the sketchy lines. When you're coloring something that has sketchy lines like this, you can kind of use them as your guide for adding extra color, right? You can just kind of do little sketchy lines of your own and add a different color in there to create some depth. So if you never know where to add shadows and things, find a sketchy stamp. And if you use a sketchy stamp, it helps a little bit. I realize I forgot to color my chicken's face. My poor chicken. There we go. Forgot to color his head. And then I'm going to come in with some dark red. And I'm going to use the lightest. I know that. And we're just going to do his comb and his waddle like that. Just a little touch. And then we're going to use the gold brown to do his beak and his legs. like so. I keep saying he, but this is probably a she. And then we can come over here and do our little sheaf of wheat. So let me see. I think I used the mid. So this is the mid of the gold brown. And this, because it's just little wheat grains, you can just kind of do little sketchy lines like this to get the color filled in. There's little, if you've ever looked at a head of wheat, there's the kernels, and then there's like the little fiber hairy things that stick out from the ends. So it's not all smooth. There we go. And then we'll go down the stems. Fill that in. My color is getting low. I can hear the scritchy scratch. There we go. And then I'm going to switch to the dark of this gold brown. And I'm just going to kind of hit here and there. Just here and there in among the little grains. Just to add a little bit of texture and a little bit of darker color. And then also we'll use this on the little twine that's tying it together. Like so. And then for another little bit of bringing in that red, I'm going to take the dark red, the lightest color, and just add a couple little hits of red on that twine. I'm not doing the whole thing, just little glints. Little glints. And then we can go ahead and cut them. So let's do our rough cut first. I believe this stamp set has some thin cuts, if memory serves me correctly, but I just bought the stamp set. And so I do the fussy cut. And it's not terribly difficult. We're just going to rotate our paper and trim around, leaving a halo, just like you would get if it was a sticker or a die cut item. And when you get to the wheat, you can kind of just jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. And that gives it sort of that rough, jiggly, nubbly look. If you just kind of wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, 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 yeah. Just like that. Around. I'm probably adding more detail than the die cut would anyway, so, you know, however you fussy cut, it works. There we go. And up and around the last. There we are. Anybody else like the country look? I know when we were doing the catalog launch party, a lot of people said that this collection was their favorite one from the catalog. And yeah, I thought that was pretty cool to find that out. I would have thought, because there's also a Christmas collection, I would have thought that the Christmas collection may have been the you know, the bigger one that everybody was excited about, because a lot of people do Christmas crafting. Hey, Robin, not sure if I said good morning to you yet. And Allison is here too. Good morning, Allison. Now we're going to just fussy cut quickly around our chicken. Buck, buck, chicken. All the way around. And then we can do the last little bit of assembly, putting all these pieces together on our card. Joanne says she loves the country look. Yep. Nice and rustic. I like how they did a subtle bit of distressing on the pattern papers in this Good Life collection. There we go. There's our chicken. I'm so excited about the chicken. All right. So what we want to do is we want to add our stamp sentiment onto this piece of Harbour. And this one is 1 7/8 by 4 1/8. So this will go on there. We're kind of maintaining that skinny little border feel throughout the card. So we can go ahead and stick this on like so. And People are having a conversation in my hallway right now. if you hear talking, that's just my family. They're just visiting. Early morning visits happening. All right, and this one we want it to look nice. I've got it flipped over for a reason. Don't worry. I've got it so that my sentiment is straight up. Flipping it over, I want it to look nice when the card is closed coming out of the envelope. But we need to make sure that this bottom doesn't hang below. Like, we couldn't attach it like this because it wouldn't fit into the envelope. So we're going to leave just a skinny little line of the wood grain there. And I want to kind of line this up in the center. So that's our 6-inch there. So that we kind of get this centered in the right spot. And then I'm going to apply some adhesive just where this is going to touch my chicken paper that I created at the top. And I am going to put a decent amount of adhesive on here because this piece right here is going to be under a little bit of, it's going to feel a little stress, a little pressure. And so we want to make sure that it's on there sturdily. So adding a little bit of adhesive there. And then we're going to line it up, make sure we've got it centered, a little bit of the white or the mist wood grain showing. And then sticking it down like so. And then we're going to add our embellishments here. I want to add them with a little bit of foam tape so they have a smidge of lift. So I'm going to grab some foam tape, stick a little bit up there, and a little bit on the stem, so I got to cut a little skinny bit. And then also on our chicken, we want a little bit, and I'm just going to put one right in the center because he's going to kind of hang over the edge a little bit. So we're going to stick him down. And we want to make sure that the foam gets on this little skinny panel, not on the wood grain. So we're going to kind of have his little feet on there, like so. And then the sentiment kind of nestles in his back there. I keep saying him. It's probably a she. It's going to lay some eggs. It's going to be a she. And then we can add our little sheaf of wheat. Not quite a sheaf, a little bunch of wheat. A sheaf is a lot bigger than that, but you know, whatever. And then we can go ahead and add this on. You want to make sure you don't go above the top of the card. But I do like having that little bit of the harbor showing down the side. I don't want to cover all of it up. All right, and then we also have our little sentiment that we have stamped up, and this piece of Harbour cardstock is 2 3/4 by 1 inch. We're going to layer the two together like so. And then this is going to be attached to the card using foam tape because we want a little bit of height. This is going to be what keeps our card propped up. If you've ever made an easel card, you know you need something to prop up the easel part. So this is going to be our prop. Let me grab the foam tape. And I'm going to get a couple pieces out. This is almost done. The end of the roll. End of the line. So we'll get a few pieces of foam tape on there. And now, when I stick this down, it's wider than my skinny part of my card. And so I don't want it to show when my card is closed. I want it to be hidden. So I need to make sure that I put it far enough back that it's not sticking out when it's closed. So I know that this is 2 3/4 of an inch here. So I'm going to come up more than 2 3/4 of an inch, or right at 2 3/4 of an inch. So I'll actually use my ruler to help me get this straight. So 1, 2 3/4 plus a little smidge. We're just going to give it a little smidge up. And then we can line it up with that, center it in the middle, and then it'll be hidden by our top panel. Look at that. Now, I also want to add a little bit of embellishment on here, so I've got some orange and yellow dots, and I thought because we're doing My Heart is Filled with Gratitude on that inside sentiment, that I would use these little honey butter blings. And let's see, we'll put one there, just kind of beside the sentiment, but on the base, which is a little bit different, right? And then this one flipped right around. We'll add a medium one up there. And then, let me see, we'll add this little guy right there. So we've made our little trio of hearts to decorate. And now, when we stand it up, it props itself on this sentiment that's down here. And I'll have to pick it up to show you what it looks like. But it stands up nice and tall, a little bit different than a normal easel card. It's got a little bit different profile as well. So that is our skinny prop easel card. I like that you can see the center panel as a nice color. You could do that in a contrasting color if you wanted. You could add pattern paper there if you wanted, but I think it's nice to just have that wood grain and the little chicken pattern paper as the highlight along with those stamped images. So we started out with our Harbour Cardstock base, adding in the layers of mist cardstock. Those two colors look gorgeous together. And then we have our pattern paper, the wood grain from the Good Life collection, creating our own pattern paper just with white daisy and the stamp from the locally grown stamp set, and adding that same chicken down here to carry it through, a little sheaf of wheat from the Harvest Blessings, as well as the stamps from that set. And then a little bit of bling, a little bit of coloring, and I think that creates such a pretty card. Now, for your words where you're going to write on your card, you could definitely write down here if you don't mind your words showing. You could write in this spot here, again, if you don't mind your words kind of showing, although it's on an angle there, so they might not be as seen. But you also have the entire back of the card. And you could either write on here with a white pen, or if you've done your base with a light color, a regular pen, or you could add a panel on there, anywhere that you wanted to add writing. So lots of space, and I think that is a fun kind of twist on an easel card to create a skinny prop easel card. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that come together. And if you create one of your own, be sure to take a photo of it and pop it in the comments when I post the pictures, because I would love to see what you created. All right, have a wonderful rest of the morning. I have posted the first game of the day and the 3 challenges for today for you to take a look at. And we will be on at 11:30 for Chat and Craft, and it will be through Zoom. So if you haven't tried joining with the Zoom yet, be sure to look for the post that says "Important, please read," and that will give you a little bit of information if you've never used Zoom before on how to use it on either a mobile device or a computer or laptop. Alrighty, have a wonderful rest of the morning. Toodaloo, bye!